Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us again here at Service Secrets. And I'm thrilled to be joined today by Heather Buck. Heather is the Director of Training and Guest Services at Cameron Mitchell Restaurants. They are a national multi-unit and multi-concept hospitality organization with over 4,000 associates. Heather, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Dave. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to talk to you today.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you today, and I'm also thrilled that you'll be coming to the Secret Service Summit at the end of September this year, because I know you have so many great things to talk about. We're thrilled to have you there.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to it.
Great. So here's my first question for you. You recently won the Milkshake Award, which is the highest honor one can receive at Cameron Mitchell Restaurants. So the first question I have is, can you explain what that award represents, and then also tell us a little bit about the milkshake story, which is such a great story.
Oh, great. Well, thank you for mentioning that. First of all, I want to tell a little bit about what the milkshake story is, because then I think it makes a little more sense to understand what the award is. The milkshake story started with Cameron Mitchell going out with his family. He's president of our organization. And at that time, he had young children, and he wanted to have a milkshake. And he went to a restaurant that his wife said, please don't take us here. They don't do really well with kids. And he said, no, I want to go here. So long story short, he wanted a milkshake for his son, and they had the ingredients to make a milkshake, but yet refused to do so. So he asked the server to have the manager come over. The manager again refused, and with a little, kind of working it out, he was able to make the manager say, hey, you have all the ingredients, can you just make a milkshake for me? So instead of having the hassle of it all, he just wanted the milkshake. So that became, later on, as he was telling the story, became a really kind of a light bulb moment for him and for our organization to say, how can we have our associates understand that if we have the ability to do something, let's try to do it. What can we do? So what's the answer? The answer is yes. What's the question? So if a guest asks us for something, is there a way that we can make that happen? And the excitement of finding a way to say yes is really kind of the genesis of that award. How does something like that permeate through the organization? And then throughout the years, we recognize people who really embody that spirit of finding a way to say yes and celebrating our culture. So I was honored to receive that award, but it's really an award that I share with everybody who is part of our culture. It's not one person's award, although it was my turn to have kind of a spotlight on me. It's really about our organization and celebrating the way that we try to make yes the answer.
That's great. Such a great story, such a great award. And I'm thinking as you're speaking, there's probably all the award winners. There's probably so much teamwork that goes into each one. It's so great for your organization.
Yes, thank you. It's kind of a weird award to win because it's about a team. So thank you. Yeah, it's great.
So let's talk about your role at Cameron Mitchell. So your title is Director of Training and Guest Services. Now, when I hear training and guest services together, there are some synergies there, but I also would think there's a lot of differences between the two. So can you talk about your primary responsibilities as it relates to each one?
Sure, thank you. My excitement is training, and then I actually got to a little bit more involved with guest services. So I'll talk about training first. So training really encompasses all of the things within the organization for hourly associates and also for manager training. It's new restaurant concepts. It's teaching people about things that are within the organization. And really, because we have low turnover, it's how to keep those existing associates and existing managers engaged and continuing to develop. So that part's very exciting, and it's really just been an awesome part of our organization. On the other side of things is guest services. So there's kind of a really nice blend between what our guests tell us, the feedback that we get from our guests, the celebration stories, the attaboys and the thank yous that our guests tell us, and then also some feedback that we can incorporate into training. So for example, if we hear a lot that a guest is, several guests are telling us that they miss an item that they wish was back on the menu, they have a way to reach out to us either by fax or phone or internet or any way that they want to. And then we can say, that's an opportunity. And how do we train the associates to say, hey, we're bringing that item back, so that we can be really immediate with our guest feedback. So whether it's a food item or, we continuously have something that we can operate and change within our organization, it's very quick that we can take that feedback from guests and get it back out to the associates with both the messaging and the ability to make changes very quickly. So that part's exciting. And it gives us a great opportunity to celebrate what we do well well. And that's a big part of why our machine keeps running forward and why people really have a strong culture, because we talk about it all the time and we celebrate it when it comes from our guests and highlight those associates. So it's really a contagious spirit. So training and guest services may not seem at the forefront to really go together, but for our organization, it really makes a lot of sense. And I've been privileged to support both of those teams.
Wow, that's great. And you made me think while you were speaking. You hear so many organizations these days talk about the importance of voice of the customer, but you really practice that and to all the way down to the front line, that everyone understands the importance of what the customer is saying and that they act upon that.
Yes, it's a part that we take a lot of pride in. I mean, I have guests that have my cell phone number from things that have happened years ago that we still have contact with. And, you know, there's a saying that some of those guests become some of our best guests and our most frequent guests, because we've moved beyond the exchange of money and the exchange of our service to really having a personal connection with them. And we celebrate those as well.
Wow, that's great. So my next question for you, I know that with your experience, you work a lot in your training and also in your guest experience using organizational culture and even behavioral economics in your training approach. Can you talk a little bit and expand a little bit on how you use both of those?
Sure. Two different concepts, but really work well within our hospitality organization. Really, any organization, whether you're in manufacturing or you're in, you're a dentist, anything that you work with people, these things make sense. Our organization works really hard to incorporate the associates. So we have a lot of people that work as an hourly for our organization. We have home office, we have managers, and we have associates. If the associates aren't bought into what we're doing, they're the bulk of who we have. And if they're not bought in and feeling engaged, then it really doesn't matter what comes top down. So we really focus kind of flipping it upside down, and we focus on our associates more than anybody else, more than our guests, more than our corporate staff, more than our managers. Our associates really are the lifeblood and the pulse of the organization. So we listen to them. We have really several ways that they can give us feedback. We do 360 evaluations, and associates rate their managers, and that's one of the ways that we continuously develop our managers. So everything we do is really associate driven. So understanding their role in the organization and capitalizing on that whole group of people really has changed what we do. And, we can have a culture, but if it's not experienced at the associate level, it's not going to be experienced by our guests. So we understand that, we cherish it, and we really nurture that whole associate experience. That bleeds over to managers and home office, but if it doesn't live and breathe with associates, it'll never permeate the organization. So that part's something we work on all the time. On the other side of things, the behavioral economics, for our exchange of money, we do sell something. If you're in retail, you go in and you may or may not buy. We have a hospitality organization, so the sale is assumed. Someone's coming in and they know they're going to pay for something, whether they're eating or drinking with us or whatever. But how do people understand what to sell, when to sell, how to talk about things? We don't want it to be feeling like a sales transaction. We want to wrap that around an experience. So how do we sell a better experience, provide that for our guests, not make a one-time sale, but have a guest who says, hey, that person was looking out for me. Hey, I tried something new. Oh, they really went above and beyond to provide something that I wouldn't have known about otherwise, whether that's enjoying a dessert. Even if they just come in for a cup of coffee, it's got to be a great cup of coffee. And while they're there, you can tell about a house-made dessert that they can try the next time they're in. So it's about understanding why someone's there, capitalizing on that opportunity to engage them in that experience, not looking for a short sale, but really engaging them to that next level of personal connection.
Wow, that's great. And I wanted to jump back to something you said when you were talking about the organizational culture, because it struck me that I see it all the time when organizations decide to focus on the employees. They just focus on the customer and what they want the customer to receive, and they don't really think about what the employees, the associates, are receiving. Obviously, you do that differently. As you said, your associates come first. I'd have to think that you are able to realize that that's a big reason that your turnover is so low, which I have to think is pretty unusual in your industry.
It's very unusual in our industry. One of the things that drew me to working here and draws me in every day is the excitement about what we provide for our associates. I'm very proud to be at the director level and work with associates every day on a first name basis and talk to them. There's associates that I'm in constant contact with about how the organization is doing, how we are doing as a team, how I am doing as a director. It's important to have those barriers broken down to really dive into what's happening, and our associates really engage in that so well, and they provide great things that wouldn't otherwise be available to them. So great ideas come from our associates, and they really are, they become the managers, they become the people at the home office. So our culture continues to live and breathe in all levels of the organization, because many of the people that I surround myself with were associates at one time.
Wow, that's great. So Heather, I want to shift gears just a little bit, because you also are a lecturer at Ohio State University in the School of Hospitality.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you, because I think a lot of times that millennials get a bad rap when it comes to providing service, and that group is called selfish. And I don't think that's always the case. And I was curious your thoughts, since you're working with them on a fairly regular basis.
Yes. So thank you for bringing that up. I love working at Ohio State as a lecturer. It's been one of the things on my bucket list. The hospitality management program does a really good job of getting students to a great place in terms of understanding the concepts of hospitality, et cetera. Most of them are millennials. We have a lot of millennials that work in our organization as well, of course. And I think they do get a bad rap because they don't have the same kind of service that we would expect someone to have. So I think it's not bad service. I think it's just different service. And you use the word selfish. They're very selfish. The word selfie, the word, all the things that are about them, their Instagram, their Snapchat. I think we have an opportunity to learn about how they want to be served differently. And so if we can kind of open our minds to what service looks like, service is that really individual moment where the name is on your cup at Starbucks, or you have your own Instagram feed and everybody's following you. It's really personalized. And I think when they have that opportunity to see service as it relates to an organization, and the organization can dial into who they are, it really gives us an opportunity and really a gold mine to really capitalize on what they're saying and what they're offering, instead of looking at it and saying, well, you're not the same as me. What is different about the kind of service that they want, and how can I learn about that? And we have those conversations a lot within the organization, because those associates come in, those students come in, how is the service different, and what feels great for me might not be what somebody else wants. So it's a lot about reading the guests and using those personal behaviors and habits to understand a little bit more. So I look at them and think they do want to know service, but their service is a little bit different, and they want a really customized experience that's wrapped around them, not necessarily this is what we offer, but how can I, and really it makes it a little more interesting, doesn't it? So you can kind of customize something, and our associates are given the power to do whatever they feel like they need to do for that individual guest. So, if you have empowerment, you can really make it a little bit more customized, which is, I think, what they're looking for in the long run.
Great. So, that's interesting. You hear selfish all the time, and you're right. It is true. It's a different type of experience, because it's totally involving them. That's what they're used to. Mm-hmm. Great point. Thank you. So here's the next question I have for you, and this kind of talks to both students at Ohio State and associates that you're working with at Cameron Mitchell, because you mentioned your culture is one where people can grow within. So what message do you try and deliver to someone who's either in a class at Ohio State or newly in Cameron Mitchell and looking to grow? What message do you deliver to someone who wants to start a career in hospitality?
Well, the first thing I tell them is stay in the industry. A lot of times people work in restaurants as they are pursuing something else. And whether they're going to school or trying to get on doing something else that's more in their field or their choice of study, if they're studying hospitality, we're already there. If they're enjoying hospitality as a part-time job while they're finishing up whatever that is for school or whatever, it's a really captivating environment. Hospitality is going to be around for a long, long time, so it's a safe place to work. There's always opportunity. Hospitality has so many things that change. Hospitality has so many things that are different and unique. There's so many different types of hospitality organizations. I would tell them to line up with somebody that shares their values. So if they're a creative person, they need to work in an organization that values creativity. If there's someone who really is passionate about guest service, line up with somebody that's really passionate about guest service. So there's a hospitality organization that really can match up well with whoever those people are and their individual needs. But our industry will continue to grow. We're not selling catalogs, we're not selling phone books, we're selling a great thing called an experience, and people will always want that. So I always tell people, stay in the industry, find one that matches up with you, and really, there's the sky's the limit.
Great advice, great advice. So Heather, here's my last question for you today. Like I said at the top, I'm excited to see you at the Secret Service Summit in September 29th and 30th here in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And my question for you is, what are some key takeaways that you would want people to leave with after they see you speak at the summit?
Well, I'm very excited about the summit. I don't want to give too much away. I would love for people to take me as a breakout session. So I'm kind of have to, really root for myself and put it out there that you got to come to my session. I hope that you do. You won't be disappointed. I promise that you'll have a great time. And one of the things that I do really well, that I really enjoy, what makes me excited, is really talking about customer service, talking about organizational culture. So hopefully there's some people in the audience that want to learn more about that, and really taking something from an idea, implementing it through training, and then having it be part of the fabric of the organization. So there's all kinds of great ideas that people have. That training piece is really the conduit to how do I get this happening for 4,000 associates. So that's a challenge, but it's also very exciting when you can make headway and really push that into the organization. So I want to talk about processes and steps to do that, because I think a lot of great ideas happen and then they kind of fall in the middle here and don't ever get executed. So talking a little bit more about execution, training, and then implementation, which doesn't sound that exciting, but it's so necessary if you're trying to do something different, if you're trying to change your culture, if you're trying to do that. Talk a little bit about what we do at Cameron Mitchell Restaurants, and hopefully have a few surprises for everyone as well.
Oh, great. And I beg to differ. I would say implementation and execution is exciting, because typically that's where people go wrong, right? That's the hard work that you can come up with great concepts, but if you can't get it out and get it to all your locations, especially someone like you where you're not only multi-channel or multi-location, but also multi-channel, that's pretty impressive.
Thank you so much. Well, I hope to be able to share that with as many people that want to come to my session. I look forward to seeing everybody in September. Thank you so much for your time today, Dave. Look forward to seeing everyone.
Heather, thank you for joining us. We can't wait to see you in September. And I know your session's going to be packed. We'll see you then.
Hope so. Thank you.
All right. Bye.